Charles, hey man, I got Georgia on my mind. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of people do right now, apparently.
exactly. Let's see if we can start with a little bit of sound from today in Georgia. I was trying to do it live, but it just wasn't going to work on Zoom. You have to kind of cue it up here.
One of the potential VPs on the Dem side, right?
Yes.
Front
See.
runner, top five. By the way, you like my hat? You remember it, right?
I got it. I got it now.
The hat, Kamala Harris, 2020, man. Had to dust it off. Actually, it's not completely dusted off. It's still dusty.
Sweet.
Andy Bashir,
Yeah,
let's
let's
go.
let's go. Here we go. Let's hear a little sound.
Do the work? Are you ready to knock the doors? Are you ready to make the phone calls? Are you ready to vote? Are you ready to beat Donald Trump? Are you ready to beat J.D. Vance? Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States of America? God bless. Thank you all. Let's win this race. Do the work.
Let's go here.
Are you ready to knock the doors? Are you ready to make the phone calls? Are you ready to vote? Are you ready to beat Donald Trump? Are you ready to beat J.D. Vance? Are you ready to elect Kamala Harris President of the United States of America?
Yes.
God bless. Thank you all. Let's.
Okay, Andy Bashir, top five for potential VP pick under Kamala, Kentucky governor, who you knocked on doors for twice, and in Forsyth County,
Today in
Georgia.
Georgia, in Forsyth County, Bashir bringing his Southern governor chops to Forsyth County. And Forsyth is a northern suburb of Atlanta, and it's famous, or infamous, I should say, infamous. Uh, Oprah Winfrey went to Forsyth, and I'm gonna have to look up the year, but it was like 1990 or 2000 or like maybe even 2010. I don't know, but she did a show from Forsyth because Forsyth was famous for his white racism. All right,
Sundown
and
town,
yep, just
meaning you got to be out by sundown.
and they used to have signs like "No blacks allowed into Forsyth County." All right, that's where Bashir was today. He was there campaigning, and USA Today has already written a story about it. It's up on the website. 500 people were there, come out for this excitement. Biden lost Forsyth County in 2020 to Donald Trump by 33 points. Okay, 33 points. Raphael Warnock lost Forsyth County in 2022 in the runoff to Herschel Walker by 30 points. For them to send Andy Bashir to Forsyth County is like sending Sherman into Georgia. Okay, I mean it's a statement.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. But Forsyth County Dems are some of the grittiest Dems in America. Maybe on par with the Dems in Florida and the Dems in Wisconsin. Those are Dem groups that have been through some of the toughest headwinds. And we were fortunate enough to be out there with them. We actually launched some of our canvas from well, let me just show you. Oh yeah, this is different. Look at this. You got to pick the app or something to share content.
What's going on?
Wow.
I was fixing a sign behind me.
Oh no. I'm just trying to share screen, but you're right. The share screen is all kinds of weird now.
Yeah, the Zoom interface is messed up. So you
Anyways, yeah, we launched from a farm in Georgia, in Forsyth County. And so Forsyth, people think of Georgia, they think of Atlanta, but you've basically got the city of Atlanta and a bunch of countryside all around, and a bunch of very, very conservative areas.
yeah,
So
Atlanta metropolitan Atlanta is about 6 or 7 different counties. Okay, it's
yeah,
totally the opposite of Harris County in Houston. Okay. Harris
Yeah.
County is enormous. 4.8 million people make up Harris County. Atlanta is like 6 or 7 different counties, and every one of them is steadily turning more politically blue.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, this is a big deal. We're also, speaking of Florida, hearing about massive mobilization in Florida. We've heard about fundraising, we've heard about all the stuff going on online, but this massive surge of volunteers that are standing up all over the country, showing up in ways that they haven't in years on the Dem side.
Yeah. So a new story today said Kamala Harris has raised 200 million, or the Harris campaign has raised 200 million through Act Blue since they announced their candidacy, which was about a week ago right now. Okay.
Right.
About a week ago right now. That's amazing numbers. It's amazing numbers. As a point of reference, Barack Obama in the month of September of 2008 raised 130 million total. Okay, for the month of September. So she is just off the charts right now, the enthusiasm. And she'll be, Vice President Harris will be in Atlanta on Tuesday. She's going to open, it's going to be her first kind of major public appearance since the campaign launched. And I'm sure Stacey Abrams and other folks, all kinds of different leaders will be there to be. Raphael Warnock probably will all be standing right with her.
Yeah, well, and then other candidates like B Win, who out of the blue. So B Win she's a young for a politician. She's, I think, 40, she's my age, 41, 42 now. She ran for a baby in political terms. She ran for Secretary of State. And she was one of the reasons why we were in Florida, or excuse me, in Georgia and Atlanta anyways. And she lost, like many of the other statewide candidates, but her margin was the tightest of all the ones that ran, and she definitely has a political future. She will be there to welcome the next major nationwide, the biggest maybe Asian candidate in the history of this country.
Absolutely.
To Atlanta.
Yep. Yeah. So B Win was a state representative, one of the first Vietnamese Americans, maybe the first Vietnamese American to be elected to the Georgia legislature. And she's part of a really rapidly growing Asian American Pacific Islander caucus that is part of the Georgia legislature. And so B Win, have we had any contact with B lately?
We have, but I'm going to tell you this real quick. So I'm going to show, this is old school style. Here's the farm. This is the farm that we were on. Okay.
Here, let me highlight you. Let me highlight you. Okay.
There's Puya right there. Puya's in, I'm showing pictures for the folks who just listen to audio. It was a legitimate farm that we were on. And some of the audio you heard is us just listening to, watching these goats go at it on the farm. Okay. That's how country Forsyth is. Okay. And that's what we were knocking on doors. That's what we were launching from, at least. So yeah, B-Win sent me a text today.
Oh.
B-Win sent me a text today, and she let me see if I can read part
By
of
the way,
this.
today is July 28th, folks.
Oh,
July
that's
28th,
good.
Sunday, July 28th is 2:30 p.m. right now, Pacific time.
Pacific time, Seattle time. She basically says, she says, "Hi, Charles, I'm connecting you with Michelle Au, who is a state rep in Georgia, trying to figure out how to rally the AAPI community in Atlanta, and wanted Common Power to be a part of that." And then Michelle responded as well. It's a really cool thing that we're, a phone text away, I guess, given the new generation, to something that could be the deciding factor in the 2024 election, which is Georgia.
Yeah, let's talk about this a little bit. Because we want to talk about Georgia, but let's peel it back a little bit into the CP universe, the strategy. So let's talk about the arc of our time in Georgia. Okay. So let's go back to 2018. In 2018, we worked for, I believe, Lucy McBath and Carolyn Bordeaux, two U.S. representatives. McBath has been a really huge favorite of ours, and we've worked for her regularly. Both of them won in the blue wave that was 2018. They both won suburban Atlanta districts. And When we sent a team there, I don't know who was running it. Maybe it was Shelly Morrison. Maybe it was
Oh, I
Donna
think you're
Stringer,
right.
maybe. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Uh,
yeah, I think you're right.
because wait a minute, I may have a cup here.
You
Let's
got the
see.
mug that she had made?
I may have the mug. Yeah, let me take a look here. I know I have the mug. I'm looking here.
Shout out to Donna Stringer and Shelly Morrison who put their all into that push into Georgia.
Here it is, man.
That was definitely in 2020, Team Georgia. Yep. That was the 2020 push. Okay, so you're showing the mug right now.
My
My
turn, Georgia blue mug. All right.
turn, it's a dark blue mug. That's right.
This is from 2020. The mug is okay
Yeah.
because it's got Warnock and Ossoff on it. All right.
Yeah. So that was, yeah, yep, that's what I just said. So that's 2020. Um, and then in 2020, that's when what is it? Oh no, Stacey Abrams in 2018 didn't make it.
Abrams just narrowly loses in 2018 to
Yeah.
Brian Kemp as governor.
Yeah, in 2018, it was the blue wave, but it was also disappointment in Georgia and in Florida. And that
In
was a big
Texas with
deal.
Beto,
And
Beto too.
Texas with Beto, right?
Yep.
And those were these massive grassroots movements that felt like they were examples of us on the left making a comeback. So those are kind of a gut punch that we didn't get that. But still, blue wave everywhere else. We retook the House at that point, right?
Yeah, we sure did. So in 2020, Warnock and Ossoff are both running on the ballot in 2020 for Senate seats, and Ossoff and Warnock both don't win, but they get enough to go to a runoff for the U.S. Senate, and Biden wins by 11,000 plus votes, the famous 11,000 votes that Trump says to Secretary of State there, Brad Raffensperger, go find me 11,000 votes. Would you I'm just looking for one more than Joe Biden. So in that election, both Ossoff and Warnock go to runoffs, and this is like our first runoff experience, right, in 2020.
Yeah, and this is where this is Action Academy launches in 2020, and this is where famously
Oh, right.
Ben and a handful of other Gen Zers are tapped to do postcards under Larcy.
I think Julia
And
G was part of that. Yeah.
that's right. That's right. And those Action Academy students, along with the community of Common Power, end up doing what they say, like half of their out-of-state postcards for the entire election or something like that.
Uh-huh.
This massive feat, this huge deal. Seattle and Common Power really came together to do those postcards. So we got Warnock over the hump.
Oh, I remember this. So the election outcome is there on election night, and it looks like Biden's going to win. And
Yep.
we wait about 10 days, and then we launch our push for the Georgia runoffs, which are going to be 2 months later in January of 2021. It's 2 months after the election. So we have this kickoff. Do you remember this? Charles, we had this Zoom kickoff, and we came into Zoom, and there were 400 people.
That's right.
Zoom.
That's right. Yeah. And this is back when we had never really had, I think the biggest we had is a couple hundred people to fit in the room in person, and Zoom was kind of new. So yeah, to have that many people on the Zoom was kind of mind blowing. But yeah, folks are ready to go. Okay, so that's 2020, and then we're out of COVID, and that's when we meet B Win. And actually, I tweeted at her in January of 2022 when I heard about her candidacy, and she was in a primary. January 19th, she sent me a DM back. I'm looking at my stuff here.
What's a DM, man? What's a DM?
A direct message. She sent me a direct message. Yeah. Hello, my bad. Sent the tweet and went to bed last night. Would love to work with y'all. That's what I said to her. This is it right here. I'm gonna put on the screen just for receipts right there. And this is what she says. This is what she says back to me. Excellent. Oh no, I said to her, excellent. You totally deserve the support. We're looking at sending a team in the spring and fall for door knocking. If your team is open to it, we'd send folks to fold into operations, fully trained and led by a team lead. And she said that would be amazing. So this is our first big push into working in primaries. Up until that point, we had a policy of never doing work in primaries. And what I started to realize was that the time when these special candidates needed the most help was when nobody was helping them, and that was in the primaries. So she became the first big push into primary. That was when we invented CSOs, which were these special teams that I handpicked that would go out and knock on doors. And I think that I want to say Donna was a part of that first CSO with a bunch of young folks. So we helped her through the primary.
Wasn't that Puya's? Wasn't that the Puya kind of
Puya was
arrival
there.
moment?
Well, yeah, because Puya was on as my assistant. So we show up and there's about, a dozen of us doing this work. First team where we handpick people. Also first time where we sponsor most of the team. Like we're paying for people to show up at the last minute to come out. And so we get her through the primary and then there's a runoff and we leave. I told her, I was like, if there's a runoff, we're coming back. We come back for the runoff and get her through the runoff. And at that point, like we're a big deal after that because no one's showing up for her like that. So we're like forever connected to B-Win after that. Yeah, and that's 2020, what did I say? 2021?
No,
2022. January
Yeah.
2022.
You're right. We march in a parade with her, right? In a pride parade.
We marched in the Pride Parade with her, yeah. And then 2022 doesn't end up the way that we would have hoped again. And this is, it's an interesting thing because Stacey Abrams is, political phenomenon, grassroots movement in Georgia, unlike anything that the state has seen in a generation. She is responsible for the beginning of an organization called the New Georgia Project. That grassroots outreach during, like, a lot of it's galvanized. I know it started before that, but during the Black Lives Matter movement, they were active and knocking on doors during COVID. She runs for office and then starts Fair Fight. I think I got the timeline a little mixed up, but she's responsible for Fair Fight and Fair Fight Action. And so she's just got a lot of grassroots foundation that she set up in Georgia. This super high voter registration numbers for especially for a red state, that led everyone to believe that she was a shoo-in for governor. And then everybody under her lieutenant governor, her secretary of state pick, and then B-Win, that they would all make it, and none of them did. And the only person that we get the big victory from in 2022 was Raphael Warnock. And that's amazing because that's the US Senate. But Georgia, we learn a lot about the nuance of, what it takes to win still in the South.
Yeah, and I remember like in CP's kind of as part of CP's journey and arc that that there B-Win was not at the level of a candidate that we usually are knocking doors for, a president,
Right.
a senate, a governor. Okay.
Right.
We've had a few. We knocked some doors for mayors, or we made phone calls for a mayor in Fort Worth, Texas during COVID. But our volunteers often want to knock doors for the top of the ticket people. And we totally get it. We totally understand. They're the best known people. And Warnock was that person in 2022, Warnock and Abrams in 2022. So
Right.
I remember that some folks some of our volunteers like, why are we knocking doors for B-Win? And there's actually deep strategies that go into this. And we would have wanted Win to win. Of course we did. And we wanted Abrams to win. And we wanted Warnock to win. And we didn't. Not all of them won. But the logic behind this is that B-Win was going to bring along a certain body of the electorate, perhaps, that would help everybody to win. And so we were that arm of the Win campaign, which was working with this larger coordinated campaign, Abrams and Warnock et al.
Yeah. Yeah. So just real quick on that point, like B-Win's rise follows the rise of younger of like my generation of AA and HPI voters and activists around the country. A lot of them also galvanized around the Black Lives Matter movement as allies. but also coming out of the Stop Asian Hate movement.
Yeah.
And that woke up a lot of people that were kind of single track on their own careers. The folks who went into medicine, the people who went into technology, that are from that Asian American background, them thinking that if they kept their head down and just followed the rules, that they would do well. And the random killings of Asian people in America, regardless of their income level, really shook that entire group to its core, and brought their feet, but also their dollars. So again, these are the folks who, when we go into the suburbs of Georgia that are turning blue, it's because you've got these Indian immigrants, South
Yeah.
Asian Indian immigrants there. You've got progressives from California moving into places in Georgia, and they're the ones who are changing the electorate. So her rise comes with the rise of a lot of political support behind Asian candidates, and you're seeing that today, and it's continuing today. And that's actually how we got in touch with B Win, because my contacts here in that rising AA and HPI community here put us in contact with one Cam Ashley, who's leading the effort in Georgia, and she had single-handedly, in some ways, willed, and that's whose farm we were on in Forsyth, willed the Asian community there to
Mm.
think about Democrats as a way of actualizing their political power.
And so Win doesn't Win doesn't win the race, but she stays very involved in the politics and will be running again for office in Georgia.
100%.
And just as a kind of like part of the story is that now we have probably the first we have a Asian American running, and it's going to likely win in New Jersey, of Andy Kim.
Yes.
That you've gotten us connected to.
Yeah. Side note on Andy Kim, he's going to totally reset what a U.S. Senator looks like. For a new generation, you watch that space. All right.
Korean American, I believe. And you also have been working with the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Victory Fund as well, and connecting with them around some of their work in Michigan and California, right?
Yep.
So like these are steps, is what they are. They're steps. And so we didn't win with Win in 2022, but we made a strategic investment, and it's has value for us. So and
well, as a
value for the
country, I think
right.
we've moved. Yeah. What did who says it? Somebody said, I forget. I think they say it in Wisconsin. Oh, Lou Friedland was saying it about, in some places we hope to win, and in some places we hope to lose better.
Yeah.
So close the margin of loss so that eventually it leads up to a victory. People think these things happen out of the blue, but these places that go from red to blue are gradually turning lighter and lighter red into pink and then light blue before they flip over totally.
Right. So Georgia, you get this text today from BWIN, and they're asking us to consider coming to do some work in Georgia. It's not uncommon for you and Ben Trong to be getting requests from all over the country now for us to come and do work. And so where is Georgia on our map? Not literally, but where is Georgia strategically on our map for this year?
Yeah, let me also add that this follows another request from Michelle White, who runs a donor table. Am I sharing screen right now, by the way?
No, Christine White.
Christine White, thank you, who works with Michelle, who wants us to come to Atlanta very badly. She runs a donor table there and helps to funnel dollars to C3s there.
Do you want me to share? Because it's hard to find it.
It is super hard to find it. You got it up?
Look under the three dots, and then all the way at the top of the three dots is share option.
Okay. Man, this thing.
I know.
What
Zoom
did they
totally
do?
redid their
They
interface.
completely redid their thing right in the middle of us. Don't they know that we're doing podcasts that are super important? Okay, you know what? I feel a lot like you right now, but
cool.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it this way. I'm gonna do it this way. Here we go. Don't say anything. Hold on, baby. I'm doing a podcast. Okay. You want to come say hi?
Let's go.
No. She said no immediately. She does not want to say hi. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Because we don't, all we got to do is show it a little bit. There's where Georgia is, everybody. Okay. And this is right now, and this will be on the website actually soon. This is how we're going to reorganize our states on our website.
I'm
But
showing
right
it on
now,
paper too, man. Right now.
are you showing it on paper?
Yes.
Look, I just want to acknowledge how high tech this is. You're showing it on paper, and I'm showing it on my phone. And I hope that no Gen Zs are watching this because this is super embarrassing. But Georgia is light blue. It's not a dark blue or medium blue. It is at the bottom of our tier list, almost for states that we're going to. Okay, that's how it's showing up strategically, and because of Kamala Harris's candidacy, we're looking at rising it up because we
Right.
thought
Overnight. Yes.
overnight, I think we thought that Georgia was a long shot, and we were looking to. I mean, you heard us a few episodes ago. We talked about our map, and it was the blue wall. Okay, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and then it was either Montana and Ohio because of the U.S. Senate seats, or Nevada and Arizona, because there's so much in play there. So we didn't mention Georgia at all, but now because of Kamala, her popularity, her identity, the excitement with Black voters and young voters, it's a new day. It's a new day in the South, and I think we're going to Georgia.
Georgia is the only state in the contiguous United States, the 48 contiguous states, that is one political color, red or blue, and surrounded by states of the other color. So it's the only state that doesn't touch another state of the same political color. So it's a blue island in the South and is driven entirely by Atlanta and metropolitan Atlanta and the Black Belt across rural South Georgia. So
And the Black Belt, so named because of the people
oh, sure.
and
Because
the soil.
Right, the people and the soil there. Yep. Yeah, long history there. But there are many African-American rural farmers across the American South that have been there since the end of enslavement, have been there farming and have survived and been resilient and have built their economies there. So if we go to Georgia and we end up working there, this is what it means as we begin to kind of wind down this podcast. What it means is we're doing the race is going the way we want it to go.
Mhm.
All right. That's what it means. The election is going the way we want it to go because it's not a state that has to be won by the Democratic ticket in order to win the presidency. They can win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and the 2nd congressional district in Nebraska, hold all the traditional blue states, and they will win the presidency. So Georgia, Arizona, Nevada are like, we're doing well. And a poll came out this last week that showed Harris down by 1 point in the state, and Biden had been trailing by anywhere from like 5 to 10 consistently. All right.
Yeah, that's why we had written it off completely. Yeah.
So we're there, and if you all take us there, and then we also continue, like, we're going to be back in 2026 because John Ossoff is going to be running for re-election. All right. So Georgia is a state that really is where we're trying to move this country, right? We're trying to move it that way politically.
Well, and I think so. If we fast forward, and we're going to talk about this maybe in another podcast here very soon, but we've got a staff retreat coming up, and one of the things that we're going to be talking about is 2025. And if we fast forward, and all signs pointing in the right direction here, and it's still going to be a fight, but if we win, Georgia is going to play a huge role in advocacy for federal voting rights.
Mm-hmm.
Warnock himself, the grassroots movement there, Black Voters Matter, his office is there. Like, a lot of the voice behind the John Lewis.
John Lewis,
Okay.
right over my shoulder, right? There
John
he is.
Lewis, okay,
Yep.
was the congressman there. A lot of the voice for that act, for the Federal Voting Rights Act, is going to come out of Georgia and out of Atlanta.
Yeah, it sure
And
is.
and when we get federal voting rights and enacted, Georgia is going to be one of the places where you're going to start all these like special elections are going to pop up, maps are going to get redrawn. It's going to happen all over the South, but it'll be headquartered in Georgia and it'll start to pour out of it. Like
Yeah.
Georgia will be the center of the transformation of the South. Like David will probably move to Georgia and then we'll start to launch our trip from Georgia to Florida, from
Sure, that
Georgia
makes sense. Sure.
to North Carolina, from Georgia to Alabama, from Georgia to Tennessee and Mississippi. Like that's going to be the new anchor for all the change we're going to make in the South.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been able to observe this both through our political work and also because we started our learning tours, our Truth and Purpose Learning Tour in Georgia, in Atlanta, because of the reasons we're talking about right here. The history, the body of work for civil rights and voting rights, and the current work by an Abrams and a Warnock and others. So it's exciting. It's exciting to, it really can't, like I was in California over the weekend and I was at different things and I was at one family event and the family of people at the family event ranged in ages from younger 30s to 70 something, and across the board everybody was like, man, wow, it's really changed. Things have really changed since Harris became the nominee. And it's amazing how that shift has changed the entire energy and narrative and focus in this country for this election. And so now we got to harness it, right? That's what we're trying to do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I don't want to be too I don't want to be overly positive because overconfidence, as we're reminded by our community, is an Achilles heel for us on the left. But my goodness, there's so many things pointing to why we should be super confident. And there are strategic elements to this because if we are too conservative, we end up losing in places like Georgia. Okay. We could be super safe and say we're not going to send anything out to Georgia. And then we'll just leave it to the Republicans. And that's not what we do right now. This is if we really like if she's a once in a generation candidate and this is the beginning of us changing the idea of who can lead in this country, then let's run the frickin' board. Okay, let's push it all the way to the limit. Let's leave it all out in the field and let's go to Georgia and let's go to frickin' Texas and let's go win that district in Alabama. And maybe, maybe in November we're sending David to frickin' Florida. Okay, you and I are going to
That's
Florida
my dream
again.
shot right there, man.
And if we're knocking on doors in Florida in October, November, okay, everybody break out the champagne. Okay, break out the champagne.
Yeah. So, I mean, we might be here in 3 weeks after the convention for the Democrats and not be riding as high as we are. But please, let's just ride right now. Let's just ride, okay? Right? Let's just enjoy the moment. We've been slogging
Man,
for months and months and months.
it's been super depressing, man. And now it's all new. And now it's like it's not just us, it's like our families too. Like everybody's excited. People who don't care, who've given up on politics are like, oh, this is pretty cool. Did you see the coconut stuff and the the brat stuff? That's pretty cool. Wow,
Yeah.
Donald Trump's crazy. JD Vance is doing what with the couch? People, it's just like this is cool. This is really cool. Yep, let's ride it.
All right. All right, man. George on our mind. So we are now 2 weeks into doing these podcasts. We started the day after Donald Trump was shot, we think. And we started, we now are here 2 weeks later. We're going to keep going, we think, but I'll tell you
to some
that
degree,
like some degree, whether we're both here or not both here or something, we're going to try to keep it going. Certainly I want to harness the energy as we drive towards the Democratic convention. We have on our mind an idea that Charles suggested earlier to me of this week of highlighting of some of our folks who support Common Power, who have contributed funds and support us. Because when we talk about the community of Common Power, there is no Common Power without people providing treasure to support us. And we're grateful, and hopefully we're gonna get a few people on here to talk about how they why they support, how they do it, where their heart is, because we have all these different programs. We have education, we have next generation leadership development, we have field work, all of that. So that's kind of one of the things that we're looking to hit on this week. What do you got? What do you got to close us with here?
It's coming. What I got to close with is that you know, when we were in Georgia, okay, it was a family situation. This is B, and there's a bunch of CP people in there. And this one knocked on our first doors right here. Here, can you say hi?
There we are. Oh my gosh, she is getting old. Holy smokes.
She knocked on her first doors in Georgia, and she's excited to go back. So, you ready to go knock on some doors?
Yes.
All right, let's do
Yeah,
it.
September. Woo! September.
Further together. Further together. Can you do
Further
it?
together.
Further together.
Let's go further together.
Yeah, put it up. There we go. Ready? Say it. Say it.
Father together.
All right.
All right. Let's
All right,
go.
man. Let's go.